Aloha. Today I wanted to jump off the last video and expand upon the controlled opposition catalog of different perspectives that are out there. This is not going to be every single one. It's just going to be like some of the representation that's out there that I consider to be controlled opposition. I know I'm going to miss a few here and there, but ultimately the individuals or the perspectives that I mentioned in this video will be reflective of pretty much the majority of what we would consider to be forward progress out there in the mainstream media, conspiracy worlds, alternative news, and the new age agenda, including like technology. Like, you have all of these various layers of belief systems that people buy into and think that it's going to happen, that something is going to happen. It's all external. It's all based upon some group, some faction, some individual, some movement, something that has ultimately nothing to do with the heart of the people or the roots of the people actually uprooting this synthetic system that feeds off of nature, that feeds off of human nature, that feeds off of the biodiversity of this balanced experience that is existing inside of us. See, we carry that balance inside of us and have the potential to adjust that extreme out of balance system that we experience in this physical reality. In every moment, in every interaction, in every thought, we have the ability to balance out this system. But as long as we maintain the illusions that are put upon us, then we'll fall subject to the experience instead of being the experience. So this is what Hollywood is designed to do. The mainstream media is designed to do this. The heliocentric model, the new age is designed to do this. It's all externalizing your experience. And as long as you are continually externalizing your experience, you will never be able to internalize yourself from the perspective of the soul. And before I go any further, like I said in previous videos, I don't have Facebook. I only have Instagram, and I don't even have like 200 followers on there, but I don't really go on there too often. But just a quick announcement. Tomorrow, which is Friday, the 22nd, I'm scheduled to be going live with ODD on his channel. If you haven't subscribed to ODD on his channel, please do check out his work. His channel is called ODD Reality. He just started doing live streams, and if everything lines up and everything is cool on both of our ends, then tomorrow sometime before noon Pacific time, we should be going live. I don't know exactly. We haven't nailed down exactly what time it is, but for more of the details, check him out, subscribe to him, because I'm probably not going to do another announcement between now and then. So yeah, check that out. It's going to be cool. Going to go into expanding on pretty much everything that I talk about on my channel here, and whatever else comes up. So tune in for that tomorrow. And yeah, so that's happening. This video, like I said, is just an extension of yesterday's video. And what I wanted to do was speak on the other reflections of like Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey's out there speaking about all of these existential perspectives of life and experience, and we don't exist, we're a cluster of tetrahedron, basically we're just sacred geometry, or we're pyramids, or we're fire, we're the soul, we're whatever it is. He's telling you he's got the answers. Basically, that's what it is. When people get out there and they say that, and somebody reminded me of this in the comment section, and I thank you for that. It said, saying something to the extent of, I used to be that way. I used to do that. I used to go around thinking I knew it all, and so on and so forth. And it reminded me of, which I didn't really mention in the video, it reminded me of when I was in the cloud of the New Age agenda. And I was just like, I came home from Sedona, Arizona. I'd been living out there for a year and a half. And I went back home and I was just like, man, this is the answer. These are the answers to the universe. It's just about sacred geometry, the spirit, the soul, possibly aliens out there that are, our star seed ancestry, or, we're connected. And when the disclosure comes about the aliens and the extraterrestrials that are out there, then everything is just going to be better, because it's going to unify humanity. It's going to be fucking wonderful. I can't wait for it. And as long as you focus on the love and light of this reality, then everything is just going to be amazing. It's just that simple. Just meditate, do yoga, wear your crystals whenever you need to, here and there. I mean, don't overdo it, don't be crazy with all your crystals. But, balance yourself out. It's all about balance, and then it'll be cool. Don't worry. What about all the bombing and all the destruction of the world that is taking advantage of the people, the innocent people who are already living naturally, who have already been living in harmony with nature, the people of the Amazon, the indigenous and the aboriginal people of the world who have been living in harmony for so long. What about them? Oh, don't worry about them. It's just they've chosen that experience. It's about they've chosen their karmic experience. And if the colonial experience, the colonists have chosen their experience too. They've decided to live at the hand of destruction, and then everything will be okay, because their karmic timeline will turn back on itself, and it'll take care of it. So everything will be okay. You don't have to do anything. Just sit back. How is that different than Hillary Clinton going on Stephen Colbert and telling you that is our civic duty? The only way we can do anything about this system is to vote. Vote. That's the way you handle this system. That is a psychological enslavement. It's enslavement to tell you that there's nothing. That's hopeless and apathetic and empty. There's nothing you can do. That's basically one of the most powerful, and she's basically the president. Like when she goes on there on Stephen Colbert, she was up there next to Trump. She actually won the popular vote, or supposedly. Obviously all that voting shit is bullshit. They just play those numbers on the television for you to believe in the system. So basically she represents the perspective of the president we should have, which is why she has that book out there called What Happened. Like as if, what happened, whatever. Anyway, when she goes out there talking about this, and this, and then she basically says, if you really want to do something about it, vote. So she's setting the platform. They're constantly setting the stage for the next show. The next show is going to be, whether you come at it from a scientific perspective, SpaceX, the university system, discovering stars and planets and all that, black holes, politics, voting for the next president, voting for your first black governor of whatever state, or all of these things that you're supposed to be proud of. See, that pride is what keeps you believing in the system. That civic engagement with voting is what keeps you believing in the system. No different than the New Age having you go look at these channelers, or go and buy this and buy that, and have all of these different experiences. It's making you believe in a belief system, and ultimately they, whoever they are, and I'm going to go through a list of they in this video right now. All of the theys are depending on your level of consciousness. See, the they for me back in the day was the government. Like, I was like, oh shit, it's only about the government. The military industrial complex is like a parasite, a plague on this earth. It's all about greed and control. Does that stuff not exist? No, of course it does. It's out there. It's part of the system, but it's deeper than that. There's something more. And there's always going to be something more because you're forever growing. So when I grew out of that space, I started protesting. I was in the Occupy movement time frame and doing that whole thing. And then it was all about the bankers. It was like, oh, okay, you know, the bankers, it's the Fed, you know, it's not only the military industrial complex, it's the money behind the military industrial complex. And who's behind the money? Well, you got the bankers, you got the Federal Reserve, you got this, you got that. You got the maritime admiralty system creating laws to back up the system and making everybody believe in that. And then I was like, okay, well, what else is there? All right, well, there's now it's the spiritual side of it. You know, this is about energy. There's something energetically driving this destructive intelligence to control people. There's the energy behind the greed, the energy behind the pride, the energy behind the materialism. What is that? What is that driving force? And what are the systems that are driving that force? And what are the systems that are keeping us from looking at what that stuff really is? Like what are the systems that are out there that are actually telling us, oh, this is what you need to be focusing on. This is the real stuff. This is reality. Don't look at all that other stuff. Don't worry about the people in the Amazon. Don't worry about the Rohingya people. Don't worry about the indigenous people across the earth. Don't worry about the history. It's about the now. It's about the present moment. It's about the future. It's about technology. It's about, you know, whatever else the system puts outside of you. Whatever perspective that gets put out there by these representatives. And that's when I started to see, oh, well, it's not only the destructive intelligence that is using destructive mechanisms to control people, the past and the present, but the future of our timelines are being manipulated by the new age perspectives. These people that are projected into our reality as representatives of what it is that is moving, evolving humanity. So you have technology. The idea of technology is a very strong representation in the mainstream circuit of, you know, this represents human evolution. And then you have people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, you know, trying to nail that down by going on television talking about just because his word is challenged, he's an astrophysicist. And I just saw a new video of him on the news talking about, you know, something is wrong with the education system if people these days are questioning basic observations of their universe, like science. I mean, how could you challenge science? I'm an astrophysicist. How could you challenge me? I'm one of the strongest people in the universe, if not the smartest person in the universe. Why? Because there's no other intelligence that we know of, so I am basically your God. So shut your fucking mouth and just listen to what I have to say. The reason hurricanes are out there is because Mother Nature is getting angry about climate change and global warming, and she's kicking our ass, so we better do something about it. And the we that I'm talking about is scientists. We are the ones that tell you what to do because we're the smartest ones. Stop fighting us. There's something seriously wrong with the education system. The education system has failed you. They're looking for an educational revamping of, because it's old, it's stale. All these schools, even the school I went to, it was just, I mean, what kept it alive were the teachers. I went to a small, predominantly so-called black school in West Oakland, and like, it was old school. I mean, like, the infrastructure was old, but the teachers were pretty much, you know, telling us what's real, because we had like a small, like, tight-knit group in that smaller school in Oakland. But ultimately, the education system across the board is outdated. We're still learning stuff from, and we were saying this back in school too, we're still learning, you know, perspectives from the 80s, from the 70s, from the 60s. We're severely out of date in our educational system, and that's known consciously and subconsciously. Everybody who's gone to school knows that it's really slow. It's too slow for these kids. This is why they're you know, putting iPads in school now, some schools, and they're looking to give you another doggy treat through the educational system. And this idea of expanding education through individuals getting in your face and telling you, oh, yeah, like, your education system is failing you. What he's actually telling you is, we need to change the system, the educational system, these perspectives, to get more real. And what's more real? It's more real to be more indoctrinated, more conditioned by their system. So if you think, it's just kind of like voting a new president in there. If you see a new president being elected, then, you know, everything's going to be cool. It's fine, because things are changing for the better, right? No, it's not. It's just another doggy treat, another distraction. So I wouldn't say Neil deGrasse Tyson is a controlled opposition, because he's not an opposition. He's not a controlled opposition on our side, you know, the people, to go against the system. He's a part of the system. He's one of the main figureheads of expanding the system. But he plays the part of an opposition of the old system. It's like these various compartments of this system, and then you buy into it. It's no different than like The Daily Show or John Oliver or these comedy shows. Even Alex Jones and TYT, and I'll get into this in a second. But, you know, they make fun of the system. Excuse me. They make fun of the government. They make fun of politics. They make fun of education. They make fun of all of this stuff in order to make it seem like, to give you like the illusion of choice, the illusion of information, being informed, the illusion of a diverse interpretation of your reality. That's ultimately what it is. The illusion of a diverse interpretation of your reality. This is what all these comedy shows are: stand-up comedy, politics, scientists, the education system, various universities, SpaceX, NASA, the New Age agenda, the conspiracy theories, various conspiracy channels, TYT and Alex Jones, and then they're fighting Democrats and Republicans. All of that is to give you the illusion of diversity, the illusion of being engaged in your reality, the illusion of being engaged in the superpower that is the enslavement of the soul, the mind, and the body. So you think that you have a fighting chance because you know what's going on behind the scenes in the disclosure programs of the extraterrestrials. You know what's going on behind the scenes in the Federal Reserve. You know what's going on behind the scenes in conspiracy theories, and even flat earth. Flat earth is behind the scenes. It's fringe conspiracy. Even conspiracy theorists won't even talk about flat earth. That's the real stuff, right? No, it's just another version of a diverse interpretation of your reality that could easily be co-opted because it's about your belief systems. See, if you get into flat earth and priding yourself that it's all about flat earth, then you've just created another belief system, no different than heliocentrism. I'm not saying it's wrong or bad. Like, there's nothing wrong with, making fun of the system, like comedians making fun of it. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. But if you base all of your reality on the perspectives of people like Samantha Bee, Trevor Noah, Bill Maher, Stephen Colbert, and all the other comedian talk shows that are out there, you're just creating another distraction for yourself. And I don't want to have this video go on too long, so I'm gonna stop the little flow right there and really just focus on these screenshots, because I'm pretty sure you're tired of looking at Oprah and that dude. But sorry about that. So you see where I'm coming from in reference to how the system is designed, the supposed diversity of your interpretations of your reality. And these are examples, personifications of those examples out there, and how they team up, how they're teaming up, and how they exist in your reality. So obviously you have Oprah. Oprah is the face of the mainstream media. If there were a contest or a contest for who is the face of the mainstream media, she'd be up there, top 5, top 3, whatever it is. She'd be up there. So by her stepping foot into the new age agenda and taking that system and running with it, utilizing it as her platform, then you have to understand that she and her style of interaction, her perspective of this reality is going to be very much a part of the next mind control program. She's being quiet on many issues on purpose, just like a lot of these actors and even politicians are being very quiet on certain issues on purpose, because they don't want to be exposed. They don't want to be the first people out there talking about whatever it is. And on the other hand, if most of them are informed of what's going on, they are falling underneath orders, just like a soldier. They can't talk about certain things at certain times. So, like Jim Carrey, I mean, he's talking about this stuff right now. We don't know if he's been ordered to speak about that stuff. And if he's not, like I said in the last video, that information that he's speaking about is still very much shallow and very much a part of a controlled opposition. No matter how controversial or wonderful, beautiful, filled with love and compassion and deep perspectives it may be, it's still missing a whole bunch of shit and could be easily co-opted by the system, specifically by the new age agenda. I mean, that's the most obvious thing that's out there. So I'm not going to say whether or not he's doing what he's doing on purpose because he's told to do it or not. I don't really care ultimately. I mean, I'm leaning more towards that he's obviously a controlled opposition because he works for that system. He's under contract by Hollywood. Doesn't matter. And it makes sense at the same time. So that's one strike. Second strike is if you're going out there and saying, I have all the answers, it's all about, we don't exist and we're just a cluster of tetrahedron, that's another red flag. Because like I said earlier in this video, people in the new age, and I'm speaking from my own experience because I didn't really finish it, are really going in that is the perspective. You leave that space of finding out something different about your reality. You leave that space of destruction from the military-industrial complex, conspiracies, and that's what leads a lot of people from to the new age. You go from conspiracies, tearing apart the system, to aliens, extraterrestrials. Then you start listening to channelers. Then you start reading books about, like various yogis and spiritual perspectives of your reality. And before you know it, you're like full-fledged new age. And, all of these other perspectives like sacred geometry, crystal energy, coming from the spirit, it's your reality now. That's it. And what tends to happen is that, excuse me, you kind of just box up everything that was dense or of a low vibration, a low frequency, and you fill your life with these versions or these perspectives of high frequencies. So all of your low frequencies are the densities of the physical reality. They don't exist in your reality anymore. That's part of the old me. It doesn't matter. And anybody else who's talking about that stuff, they are of a low energy. They're of a low vibration. And I used to be that way. I used to be that person. They pride themselves in that shit instead of truly being connected and truly being unified with all of the living beings in this experience. They create a prescription drug of complacency, apathy, hopelessness, and ultimately submissiveness. Because now you're, instead of being locked into a slave mind by fear, now you're locked into a slave mind, an apathetic perspective of your reality by so-called love and light. You're not going to do anything because you've created a love and light prescription drug for everything. So nothing really matters. That's what pisses me off so much about what Jim Carrey is putting out there. He's saying nothing matters. You don't exist. We don't exist. We're just a cluster of tetrahedron trying to be happy, trying to be, whatever it is. So nothing matters. Colonialism doesn't matter. Mind control doesn't matter. Genetically modified foods doesn't matter. The systems behind controlling your psyche doesn't matter. Racism doesn't matter. Historic events adding up to today doesn't matter. Nothing matters. That's actually the infrastructure of the new age. That's what the new age wants to sell to you as the next step. See, the little interviews that, and I'm glad I actually left it on this little clip right here, because you can see the smug fucking face of Oprah and this just ridiculous suit and tie asshole who's a representation of the church, sitting there, teaming up. What is his name? Joel Osteen. Yeah, he came under fire off that whole Hurricane Harvey not opening up the church for people who were flooded out. So you can see how these are teaming up. In this video, these slides are going to show you how this system is teaming up, how it teams up, and how it's going to utilize, how ultimately they're talking about the same thing. So Jim Carrey, I wouldn't be surprised if Jim Carrey is going to team up with Oprah sometime, in the near future, and talk about what he was really talking, get like a real deep interview with Jim Carrey. What did you mean when you said we don't exist? Because on my network, we talk about that stuff all the time. Welcome, Jim Carrey. Tell your story. Speak your mind. Speak your spirit to the people of the world. Let them know, what exactly is a cluster of tetrahedron, Jim? Let us know. It's one big story. If you believe in the system, you believe in your enslavement. You believe in the people in there. You believe in everything that they're going to tell you. So here you see Oprah. She's got her network. She represents the mainstream media moving towards the new age. The new age is already locked into a mind control program with the extraterrestrial agenda, the channeling agenda, the the Ancient Aliens Agenda History Channel. That's all one big ball of shit that people are just eating up every day. You know why? Because it's delicious. It's delicious to eat that stuff up, because why? You've been eating dirt. You've been eating dirt and muddy water for your entire life. But now you have this delicious fast food called the New Age. And you go deeper into it. You have like, fancy fast food, which is like Sizzler, Red Lobster, Olive Garden. This is delicious. I can't believe it. What was I thinking living my life eating garbage? I was so self-destructive. I was such a low vibration person, energy. But now I'm the person that I'm supposed to be. I know about my spirit and my soul. Excuse me, my soul, everything is just it's just better now. This is what Oprah represents. So what's happening is, and this is what I'm seeing with Alex Jones, and I'll get into that in a second. Alex Jones, in reference to how things are merging. Alex Jones holds on to Donald Trump because Donald Trump is holding on to the Republicans. Republicans are deeper into the Christian perspective of reality, the church. The Democrats represent more science. They represent more of like you see Bill Maher having conversations with Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye, and they're behind Hillary Clinton because the Hegelian dialectic has set it up to where you're either Democrat or Republican, and that's your only choice. But really, you're either science or church. And this is how all sides are being played. You're played both ways, because they have control of the church, obviously, from centuries of control and dominance. There is no separation between church and state. And then you have scientism, which is the other hand of the state. It represents your so-called forward progress, technology, evolution, so on and so forth, global warming. They utilize all of these mechanisms to box you in. And you think that you have the illusion of choice, because you think, oh yeah, well, I'm not a part of the church. I'm a part of forward progress. I'm a part of SpaceX and technology. Obviously, those church people are just old and stupid. So that just throws the baby out with the bathwater. You get the soul, the spirit, the mind, the higher mind. All of that just gets thrown out, because that's some churchy spiritual stuff, and I'm about technology. You know, there's a lot of people like that. That's pretty much like the mainstream perspective nowadays, or progressive. It's all about progressive. We need to take care of climate change and so on and so forth. So you have that. And then you have the fringe type, because they don't really get too churchy. Like Alex Jones doesn't get really too churchy with you, but he'll throw those little zingers out there, and start crying on the microphone. This really breaks me. I can't believe it. These people are controlled by Satan. It's the Luciferian. Why don't people wake up? He's basically saying, come to Jesus. You need to wake up and see that this is satanic. It's about Jesus. Everybody needs to just read their Bible and come back to Jesus. It's the same Joel Osteen shit. Alex Jones, instead of just preaching, whatever comes out of the Bible, he's preaching conspiracy theories. The church of conspiracy theory. The church of controlled opposition. The people in the church, like Joel Osteen, they tell you the supposed positive stuff of the church, the stuff that's going to fix you and heal you and all that other stuff. But then you have like the other side of that. They preach the so-called Jesus side, but people like Alex Jones preach the anti-Satan side. See, there's a difference there. You can what pro-Jesus in the church, or you can preach anti-Satan. Those are two two sides of the same coin. It's the same. It's the same story, just in a different style. But they're the same coin. Like I said, Alex Jones, that dude is straight up selling that agenda. And that's why he's got a lot of these conspiracy theories, even some flat earthers who are all about Alex Jones. And, oh, he's honest. He's a secret Christian. So I'm all about him. He's there. And I know eventually he's going to start speaking about flat earth. So everything's going to be. So you have to see that if that's what's set up, then you have to see that that's on purpose. Because I said this in previous videos about Trump. This is why Trump has to play that, God bless America. It's all about God, God, God. But they don't really go into that shit. They don't give a shit about your spirit. They don't give a shit about nature and all that other stuff. They use God, the Bible, and the church as a selling point. They use it. Alex Jones the same fucking way. He doesn't give a shit about about anything, any kind of spiritual perspectives. Ultimately, he's all about himself. Selling you some bone broth and some emergency, bug out kits or some shit like that. Like, that's what he's about. He's a part of that system, no different than Oprah. Alex Jones is basically the Oprah Winfrey of conspiracy theories. So you have all of these people teaming up. This is why Alex Jones teamed up with Donald Trump. You don't think it's the slightest bit, suspicious that Alex Jones spent years and years upon years talking about the government's corruption and how fucked up everything is. And then all of a sudden, Donald Trump comes into view and he's on the Trump train. He's talking about Trump is for people. We broke the system. It's about globalists against the patriots. And we're the patriots. We're going to commence 1776 and so on and so forth. Slightest bit suspicious. Does it smell a little bit like what Russell Brand did when he started the truths? Instead of having years and years of talking about the truths, and then all of a sudden when their presidential election came about or whether their prime minister election came about in the UK, he jumped on board with one of those groups out there. I don't know whatever the hell it was, but he was like promoting one of those representatives. This is a control grid. They put these figureheads out there on purpose. And like Alan Watts said, if you're gonna fall for that shit, then you deserve it. That's you. Your level of consciousness is asking to be enslaved. Whether it's by destruction, fear, or love and light. One of the two. You're going to fall in one of those two. And when you break free from both of those, when you break free of the new age, you break free of the conspiracy theories, you break free of all of these control systems that are out there, then you start to realize, oh, it's my responsibility to think for myself. It's my responsibility to go to the depths of these storylines and stop following these individuals who just keep me at this shallow perspective. So that's what these people are. So you have them teaming up. So you see Alex Jones team up with Donald Trump. Russell Brand teams up with, whatever that one representative out there for their president or whatever. Joel Osteen teaming up with Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey teaming up with Eckhart Tolle. And everybody else that's out there. Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, all of your Hollywood actors and actresses. They all go through Oprah to speak about their spiritual perspectives of reality. And it's all founded in the New Age. The New Age is then locked into the reality even further with or the mainstream government reality with Cryon. Channelers are heavy duty in the New Age community. Cryon speaking at the United Nations. You can check that out for yourself. Another facet of this representative system are people like Michael Moore, the documentarians, the people on the fringe of information, mainstream information, supposedly, and they talk about, you know, the government being corrupt in reference to 9/11, in reference to the healthcare system, in reference to religion, like Religious with Bill Maher. Michael Moore is about the same kind of caliber of individual as people like Bill Maher. They're the same sort of Netflix documentarian creator sort of thing. And right now, even whatever, Joseph, the dude who did the Zeitgeist documentaries. This is the same thing. He's a little bit more fringe because he goes into deeper information, like supposedly revolutionary perspectives, but he's still on Netflix. He's still telling you, you know, this is all as far as you need to go. And I forgot to include Peter Joseph, that's his name. Peter Joseph, the dude who did the Zeitgeist documentaries. He's a controlled opposition too. In my eyes, same thing. As deep as that information is in Zeitgeist, it ain't nothing but another new age perspective. It's another controlled opposition designed to limit your perspectives, limit your ability to challenge and uproot this system. As intelligent as that dude is, he's basically told you, he built up all of that momentum with Zeitgeist, and then they just crash it into a wall or push it off a cliff. That's what happens. That's what these people are designed for. Oprah, Michael Moore, Russell Brand, Peter Joseph. They get all of this momentum of so-called forward progress. They get people thinking and acting and even getting on the streets and protesting. They get people to do this, and then what happens? They just crash that movement into a wall. Their own wall of limitations. And because you vested all of your life force energy into their illusions, you deserve exactly what you get. They gave you the movie that you asked for. Instead of being the director, the producer, and the movie theater and everything else yourself, you bought into whatever they were selling. And if you buy into, it's no different than buying into the Democrats, no different than buying into the Republicans, Alex Jones, TYT, Oprah, Cryon, Bashar, David Wilcock, Ancient Aliens, anybody else that's out there that's telling you that this is the world, then you've bought into it. And these are the people projected into your reality. They're projected. They're put into on the television, on your George Norrie, on your Star Talk radios with Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye. These are individuals that are projected into your reality to make you believe the next limitation program. So Michael Moore talking about calls for an army of satire against Trump. First of all, he's telling you that if you're going to create an army, the only thing that you need to channel that energy of that army to is Donald Trump. Why? Because politics is the only thing that you need to be focusing on. So he took all of that energy of those documentaries that he's been talking about, and he just crashed it into the walls of politics. He said, you know what? I talk about all this fringe information, but I'm still ultimately a piece of shit who believes in this politics. So you should just be a piece of shit just like me. It's up to you. That's what people are gonna do. And that's what they're designed to do. And they go on talk shows like Stephen Colbert, Bill Maher, Trevor Noah, and they go talk about this shit. And they make it more real because they laugh it into your reality. So now you have two Michael Moores. You have Donald Trump or Michael Moore, who teams up with Trevor Noah or Bill Maher, and you believe both of them. They're likable people. They're funny. So it locks it further into your reality. That's the design of talk shows. Today I'm launching Trumpy Leaks, a site that will enable courageous whistleblowers to privately communicate with me and my team. It might get dangerous. It might get us in trouble. But we're running out of time. We must act. It's our patriotic duty. Hashtag Michael Moore. He's just the Democratic version of Alex Jones. Same thing. Michael Moore getting out there, going on Stephen Colbert. See, Stephen Colbert talks shit about Alex Jones and Donald Trump, but he'll have, because he's the Republican teaming up in the fringe conspiracy theorist. But Michael Moore is the accepted conspiracy theorist. So Stephen Colbert and Bill Maher will have Michael Moore on to interview. So they want to sell you this agenda and make fun of the other agenda, but ultimately they have control of both agendas. Just like playing both sides of world wars. Why play one side of a war and hope that you're going to win? Even if you stack the deck, it still only maxes out at 99% of a chance that you'll win. But if you play both sides of the war, it's 100% chance that you're going to win, because you have the control of the dialogue. You have control of both sides. This is what these individuals represent. Then you have like the Black conscious community, and then you have like so-called fringe Black Christians, and this whole like moving forward through, just like you get into new age information, you think that's the answer. That's it. I got all the answers and that's it. And, you know, I need to just start to let everybody know it's all about, it's still about Jesus, but it's about Black Jesus. Why? Because this information says that such and such and such and such. No different than any of the Black conscious communities telling you, you know, it's all about Kemet. Go back to Kemet. Go back to Africa. Well, what about the melanated people that were across the world and in the Americas before any of that stuff? What about the civilizations in the Americas that predated Kemet, supposedly? I mean, there's a lot of information in Poverty Point that challenges the timelines of Kemet. So, I mean, there's a lot of these informations, but my main point is that what you do is what the most comfortable position to take is to say, well, these are the answers, this is it, and then, you know, everything else is just bullshit. So we don't really challenge ourselves to looking to any of these other systems, because what I'm saying is, like, this is the kind of way that we do this. We go through this. It's like the hard-headed route. We got to go through that system until finally you break free of that style of interaction, and then you get into your own activation. You get into yourself, your own reality, and then things start to make sense from the inside out. But if you're just taking a mind control program and painting it another color and saying that that's the answer of your existence, then what's the difference between that and going from George Bush to Barack Obama, from Barack Obama to Donald Trump, from Donald Trump to whoever else they put out there? It's the same mechanism. You're still asleep. So you have Black Lives Matter out there. Black Lives Matter. I mean, the math really just, it's easy. Are any of these movements coming from the perspective of, from what my perspective was, the closest to an actual revolutionary group in the modern times were the Black Panthers. They were literally taken out by the system because they were a threat to the system by any means necessary. They were fighting this system. So COINTELPRO was created, and they took out the leaders. Same thing happens in like the American Indian movement, Leonard Peltier. The same thing is, it's the same mechanisms. Like, is if you're going to the top, if you're going to take out, if you're saying, you know, by any means necessary, this system will fall. That's it. Fred Hampton was talking about this. Huey Newton. Regardless of whatever you think about, whether or not they were controlled or not in COINTELPRO, I'm talking about the origins of like the Black Panthers, the origins where they were, making school lunches for the kids, started the WIC program, actually doing things instead of yelling at the system and telling and asking them to, recognize us. You don't need the recognition of slave owners. You just have to realize that you're not a slave and remove the foundation from the slave owners. See, Black Lives Matter and these assholes that are in this system, like Beyonce talking, raising their fist and wearing Black Panther gear at the super dancing, shaking her ass at the Super Bowl. They use that as a prop. They use the Black Panthers as a prop. They're not talking about real shit. They want to use that as a costume. Because ultimately they're getting paid by George Soros. They're getting paid by the system to maintain your distraction, your illusions, your belief in your own enslavement. So when you have these so-called movements that are out there, like Black Lives Matter, just think of that. It's already powerless. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm saying, like, look at the power, the energy of it. It's basically like Black Lives Matter. Like, obviously, if you are looking for them to give a shit about you, you've already failed. These are psychopathic, sociopathic pirates, criminals. This entire system is built upon that. So if you do the basic math and then add in the extra seasoning of knowing that George Soros funds these programs, I mean, it's all null and void. Then add this dude with his blue vest being on Stephen Colbert. They want you to, it's no different than Michael Moore going on Stephen Colbert. No different than Hillary Clinton going on Stephen Colbert. Any of these actors going on Stephen Colbert. It's the same thing. They want you to focus your energy on that and think that things are changing. This dude actually got to sit in the seat of Stephen Colbert. It's like trumping everything. It's like, oh, well, this is what really matters. They're making you, but when he did that, he made you believe in Stephen Colbert. That's what that whole shifting of the seat thing was. It's like, we really care. Black Lives Matter so much, I'm going to let you sit in my seat. I'm going to let you talk to me. You're going to interview me. And I'm the one who's in charge of the night show, the late night show. I really care. They don't give a fuck about you. It's all a show. Dead eyes. Dead souls, completely sold out to the materialistic version of reality. No different than that still nigga shit that Jay-Z put out there. We really care. Yeah, you do this and this and this, still nigga, still nigga, still nigga, all over and over and over and over again. Does it resonate? Of course. Is it relevant to speak on this information? Of course, you need to. At the same time, if they're selling you a celery stick and telling you it's a Thanksgiving dinner, and then you just relish in the fact that it's a Thanksgiving dinner and you not having a celery stick, then you're missing out. Because you're not looking at the origins of Thanksgiving and that Thanksgiving dinner. You're just priding yourself in not having a celery stick anymore. That's what Beyonce is. That's what this Black Lives Matter shit is. That's what Jay-Z talking about, still nigga this, still nigga that. It's all the same stuff. It's Thanksgiving. But you're not going to challenge Thanksgiving. Oh, how dare you? These are the this is what our forefathers created for us. They fought. We're the most free nation in the world. We have the right to protest given to us by our slave owners. We have the right of free speech given to us by our slave owners. Other people don't have the ability of free speech. Other people don't have, all this other stuff that we have in the Americas. They don't have the right to bear arms. They don't have the same freedoms for women. This stuff is this is the free world. This is the new world. How dare you challenge this system? This is the best of the best of the best. No. Excuse me. It's not. It's a complete illusion. But as long as you keep buying into it, they got you. They got you by the balls. Still, nigga. Sending out all of these SpaceX programs. Sucking your kids into these mind control programs. Selling you your future. Future astronauts and engineers in training. Help them find their Mars. We found our moon. Now it's up to the future generations to find their Mars, and you can help them. Hashtag train like a Martian. Stupid shit. Join the fun. Hashtag train like a Martian. The Mars generation. Sponsored by Elon Musk, NASA. Russell Brand. I mentioned him earlier. Same thing. Like somebody said in the comment section on the last video with Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey's basically like the Russell Brand of the Americas. Or the United States of America, I should say. Russell Brand did the same thing. Hollywood, straight up like comedian, jester, joker. He's got that whole addiction thing, which he shares all the time, and a lot of people can relate to that because addiction is like the main drug of this system. You're addicted to the system. Ultimately, that's what this whole video is about, being addicted to somebody else's belief systems. But he uses that to suck you in, to humanize him, to add credibility, to validate his existence. He's just a regular person with addiction problems, human problems, just like you. He not only had it, but he still is struggling with it today. You never stop being an addict. You just, deal with it as you go. It's very human of him to share that. So that really locks him into your beliefs. It was like, oh, wow, that's wonderful. And then he adds to it by being very intelligent and speaking about consciousness and interviewing a lot of very intelligent people. But like I said about Michael Moore, the same thing, and Peter Joseph, they build up all of this momentum and then crash it into a wall. They build up all this momentum and just walk it off a cliff of limitation, of the next enslavement. Oprah, she's building up all this consciousness and new age energy and perspectives, and then she's just going to walk it off a cliff of the United Nations new age agenda, the new world religion, whatever else they're trying to sell to you, because they got channelers at the United Nations. They won't talk about this stuff. They'll tell you about like even this United Nations things that went down recently with Donald Trump. It's like, oh, this is where all the people, and I think this was on like a comedy thing. This is where leaders of the world come together and air out their differences and air out, what they're talking about doing and so on and so forth. But you won't never hear none of them mention them having Cryon speak there and why that shit was there. Because they're saving it. They're saving that information, just like they're saving Oprah. All the shit that's gone down with so-called black people being killed on the streets Black Lives Matter. Have you heard a fucking word from Oprah? The closest you heard coming about that information coming from her, or people like Michael Jordan, is Beyonce wearing Black Panther gear at the Super Bowl, and Jay-Z dropping a cartoon called Still Nigga. Because they want you to stay that they got you, because you create the illusion for yourself through your beliefs. You like their music. You like their movies. You like their interviews. You like the persona that they project out when they're interviewing these people. You like that. And since they're not saying anything, you create their answers for them. You say, oh, well, they're just staying out of the nonsense. They're really still good people. I still believe in them. All of them, Trevor Noah, Stephen Colbert, even Alex Jones, TYT, all of them. That's how they do it. They stay quiet on purpose. And then you say, oh, it's okay. Good for them. Good for them. They're doing the right thing. Russell Brand the same way. Same thing's going on. So, yeah. Ultimately, what it boils down to is, like I said, pushing, building up all this momentum and pushing you off a cliff. That's what Russell Brand represents. That's what Jim Carrey's going to represent. He's already pushed you off a cliff, a new age cliff. Say, you don't matter. Boo! Good job. I hope you learned something when you smack your face on the ground down there. What do I do now? Oh, take care of yourself. I already did my job. But it's still another desert down here. It's nothing. Obviously, why'd you let me push you off a cliff in the first place? Should have been thinking for yourself. They can always pull that card. Because ultimately, that's what they're doing. Russell Brand. Cry on at the United Nations, 2007. This dude, or this thing, has spoken at the United Nations at least 7 times. If you need another confirmation into the intentions, the destructive intention of the New Age agenda, start here. And then look at all the other channeling information out there. And then look at the information they don't talk about. Learn from what they're talking about. Some of the stuff, like I said, you can learn from anything. You can learn it from, I learned some stuff from Michael Moore's documentaries. I learned some pretty good perspectives from Russell Brand. I learned some good information from Alex Jones. I even laugh at, Stephen Colbert, John Oliver, Trevor Noah. I'm about the information. I'm not subjected to their control programs anymore. Once you break that shit, then you just start to piece apart the math. You start to take apart the actual science of the mechanism, and you're no longer subjected to it. You break the magic of it. Like even these days, I still watch movies, like new movies. I'll go watch a new movie because I want to know what the system is telling these kids. I want to know what the system is telling these older generations. I want to know what the system is telling these millennials to think, how to feel, how to grow, how to act, what to believe. That's one of the main mechanisms. Hollywood, the movie, that's an alchemy. So I'll go and watch that stuff. Back in the day, I used to be like, oh, I'll never watch another movie again. I'll never watch the television again. I'm beyond that. But for me, and this is not for and that's what I said, everybody, a lot of people don't need to watch that shit. Good on you. Good job. But like for me, I only share this for example of my work, my journey is to interpret information. That's a big part of what my work is to interpret and share that information. So for me, I barreled through that mind control program, barreled through that whole stuff, and it's like, okay, well now I have to keep going. I have to keep explaining how this system is growing so people can get a jump on these systems before they activate and become subjected to them. So this is, what I'm seeing with people like whatever that dude's name who channels Cryon, and their connection to the United Nations and that connection to Oprah, the New Age, and so on and so forth. Joe Rogan, you already know how full of shit he is. He's obviously a controlled opposition. He even has a guy, Eddie Bravo, who is his friend on the show, that speaks on flat Earth. And this dude is, and that's just another mechanism utilized to make people believe that even entertaining the information of flat Earth is just crazy. Eddie Bravo is just pawned off as like a kook. He's used, and what that does is that not only pigeonholes people who talk about flat Earth for the sake of challenge the system, challenge the heliocentric program, this mind control program. Start looking into it. It's not only to make them look crazy, but it's also to make the people who are not looking into it feel validated, feel a sense of pride and intelligence, because this intelligent individual named Joe Rogan is obviously against it. And if he's best friends with a flat earther and he still doesn't believe in it, then it must, or he still won't even look into it, he still can't even entertain it, then it must be not true. And Eddie Bravo just must be crazy, because Joe Rogan is on his show, he's the alpha. So people follow the leaders. They follow the alphas. So Joe Rogan is the alpha by him being the alpha on the Joe Rogan show, and he has an outed flat earth on his channel. He subconsciously and inherently kills the flat earth by just holding that line. Just saying, you're crazy, man. I'm not going to look into that shit. It's just crazy. I can't even at all entertain that information. It's just too crazy. I'll talk about Sasquatch. I'll talk about aliens. I'll talk about all this other crazy shit that's directly connected to the New Age. But flat earth, pff, get out of here. You're crazy. That's like the most formal mind control program, or the most obvious mind control program out of pretty much all of these ones that I've actually mentioned. The way it's designed. He has a flat earther on his channel. They're best friends. And he still says, you're fucking crazy. Everything that comes out of your mouth is crazy. And everybody who thinks like you is crazy. But I'll talk about psychedelics. I'll interview Graham Hancock and talk about, entities in the psychedelic realm and the astral plane. I'll talk about all this other New Age shit. But flat earth? No way, man. That's like going straight into the system. I can't talk about that stuff. I'll lose my sponsors. So yeah, this is the other side. These are the alchemy of Joe Rogan. It's like that's how that's designed. So he'll use the extremes of, beating the shit out of Eddie Bravo and they're best friends, and they just play it off. Oh yeah, well, we're just friends and we think differently, so let's just go about our business. Meanwhile, you have millions of other people who are doing the same thing, taking sides. The Hegelian dialectic: Eddie Bravo or Joe Rogan. What are you gonna be? What are you gonna believe? How are you going to act? For people who still fall into those belief systems, that's what the Joe Rogan experience is. And he's the alpha on that show. It's his show. So everything else is basically Joe Rogan and every other person like Graham Hancock that he has on that show to interview. It's all of those people and all of that intelligence against Eddie Bravo. That's what the Joe Rogan experience is. He says, you know what? I'm not only smart, but I have a catalog of smart people that I interview that I agree with on a lot of crazy shit that's out there. You know, we talk about a lot of crazy shit. But flat earth, now that's really stupid. That's just crazy. And I cannot at all. That's just something beyond. So Eddie Bravo, you're my buddy. You're my best friend. But you're still crazy. And I'm going to use you as a way to keep people from looking at further information. And whether that's not to say Eddie Bravo is in on it or whatever, I'm just saying that's how it's working in the minds of people subconsciously. It's existing that way. For people who are on the fringe of going into any of this kind of outside information, they're going to automatically think that way. They're going to say, you know, that dude is crazy. I'm not even going to look in flat earth. Joe Rogan's really smart. I mean, he's interviewed Graham Hancock, and I really like Graham Hancock. So I'll stay on the more psychedelic side. As if there's a separation between nature and psychedelics, the natural perspectives of the ancestors interpreting this not heliocentric reality and nature. See, it's just another way of separation. So you have Graham Hancock, who's been on TED Talks, and Rupert Sheldrake, who's been on TED Talks too, who also talks about consciousness and psychedelics and so on and so forth. TED Talks is another thing that I didn't put on here, which I'm glad I referenced, because that is definitely another controlled opposition. At the same time, it's not really an opposition because it's part of the system. They're selling you technology. They're selling you that SpaceX perspective. At the same time, they have people on there like Graham Hancock who are definitely controlled oppositions to, you know, sell this one perspective of however, whoever they're selling it, whoever it is that's selling it, this is what, you know, reality really is, and so on and so forth. And it's taking all of the non-linear perspectives of this reality and making them linear by channeling them through one person. So the non-linear perspectives of the New Age, basically just connecting to nature. When they turn it in, they label it and they say the New Age. They label it and say Oprah and her network and all that other people. And Jim Carrey labels it by saying nothing matters. He labels it by saying cluster of tetrahedron. It turns it linearly and it keeps it in the left hemisphere. You're not even going into the or you're staying in the logical side. You're not going into the non-linear side of interpreting this reality. You're taking something that is curvy, is fluid, is colorful, and you're writing it on a 3x5 index card. You can't do that. But that's what people are. That's like when you go to school, people are conditioned to receive information that way. Conformity, linear. That's what the education system is. So, Graham Hancock, he does this with psychedelics. Joe Rogan does the same thing. They're just setting up the platform. And meanwhile, all of the scientism community, they can just co-opt any of those perspectives and channel it into simulation theory. They can say all the psychedelics that you see, all the psychedelic images that you see, you know, it's just another version of the simulation that we exist in. And we can tap into that simulation with CERN and transhumanism. So jump on board, guys. Come on aboard on the future train. We're going to get there together to the new age in the new world order through technology. We did it, guys. Thanks, Joe Rogan. Fuck you, Joe Rogan. Fucking Nas And Miss Lauryn Hill launched the Powernomics Tour to support Black economic empowerment. Same thing I was talking about in previous videos about the Black conscious community, who focuses only on Black economics and the fact that you're already on a dead movement, a dead end. So they build up, so the Black, like I said, building up all of this energy and then pushing it off a cliff. The same thing happens in the Black conscious community. They suck you in with perspectives of Kemet. They suck you in with the pyramids, sacred geometry, the balances of nature through Horus and, Thoth and all of these other teachings that are out there. They suck you in and then they just say, boom. Now we need to take all of this unification that we have and make our own Black economy. We need to take, like I said in that previous video, all of that. And like I said, in all these other videos, these are all just various movements. Everybody has to go through it in their own way. I'm sharing my perspective in reference to what could easily be co-opted, what could easily be pushed off a cliff, and what's obviously to me a controlled opposition. If your only focus, if your only movement, so-called movement, is based upon still passing around the slave notes that are being funneled out of the enslavers, the Federal Reserve, and this enslavement system through colonialism and Western civilization. If your only idea of movement is based upon coming together and then just making your own economy based upon the slave note system, you're already exposed as a controlled opposition. Like I said, I'll go back to all the time. I'll go back to, as a reference, the Black Panthers, the American Indian movement. The Black Panthers actually making school lunches, actually creating the WIC program, actually saying, no, they're fucking killing us on the streets. This entire system is designed to destroy us. It was brought upon that. The same thing that happened when Christopher Columbus came here and installed all of these programs, all of these diseases, these parasites, these viruses, to have us eat ourselves, to destroy us, to destroy our relationships with our own soul, with our own spirit, with our own higher mind, with our own bodies, to accept this Western civilization as the end all be all of our reality. We accepted this system back then. And the Black Panthers said, look, this shit is not new. The origins of these systems are built on massacre, genocide, destruction, sickness and disease, theft, pirating. When will we ever take that position? Are we going to constantly create this idea of, well, we just got to do what we got to do with what we got. And what we got is the slave systems. That's a house slave mentality. It's like a house slave that broke free from the house, but moved into like a tiny house in the backyard of the house of the slave house. It's like, well, at least we're not living in the slave house anymore. We have Black economics now. This is our own tiny house on the same slave plot as a slave house. But at least it's our own house. It's a Black economy now. Same shit. Build up all this energy, all of this focus and forward progress, and just kick it off a fucking cliff. Atheists worship Satan. Sure, they say, oh, we don't believe in Satan. Well, the atheist higher ups do. The ones who write the atheist books. And I've got news for you, bud. Satan is real. Period. Period. End of story. It's real. Now what are you going to do about it? Hashtag Infowars. Hashtag buy my bone broth. That'll make you strong like me. This is another confirmation of what I said earlier. Hegelian dialectic between the church and science. Republicans and Democrats. Progressives and conservatives. Alex Jones sells this Lucifer, Satan, globalist storyline to amplify his Republican, conservative sort of whoever's watching him. And it's founded in some real shit. Obviously, the university system is based on atheism. It's the church. The university system is the church of atheism. And Alex Jones knows that, and he's using that to build up his own following. And like I said, is it based on not on falsity? No, it's very true. But what is he doing with that information? Where is he channeling that information? He's channeling it back into the system. So this is what I was saying as far as Alex Jones being a part of that whole system, the university system being that atheistic perspective and so on and so forth. And then, yeah, the beat goes on. Conservative Christian, radio host, conspiracy theorist. As long as you keep following these individuals, that's what it's going to be. And that's why I said it's just a matter of time before Alex Jones drops the flat earth story and takes a formal stance against the globalists. Obviously, the globalists, it's easy for him to just say the globalists represent the globe earth, the atheists of the university system. I mean, it's already there. It's packaged. It's got a fucking bow on it. It's just waiting. And since he's on the clock, he's on the payroll, it's just a matter of time and timing for when that hits. And he's buddy-buddy with Donald Trump. The math adds up. Donald Trump puts it out there. The earth is not a globe. Boom. Mass chaos. The entire system. Just like what each individual who's listening to this video right now, and other people who are researching flat earth themselves. They've broken the system in a sense. A big part of the system. And it's painful for a lot of people. It's very vulnerable. So they need something to hold on to. So it takes a while. Some people hold on to the church and, funnel the flat earth through the Bible. Say, that's it. I got it. This is all I need. I need my Bible. I need the flat earth, and I'm good. Other people hold on to conspiracy theories and flat earth. Whatever it is, whatever you're holding on to, it's just another thing. And like I said, I'm not saying that to look down on people or anything. I'm just sharing how I went through this system and how I've released a lot of this stuff that I used to hold on to, and how now I'm just interpreting it into, helping people see that it's not so much about, gathering all this information and then becoming enlightened. That's what the New Age does. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to fill you with love and light and tell you that you're enlightened. Put a Band-Aid on the gushing wound of this experience and say that you're now enlightened. Don't you see that Band-Aid where it has, little peace symbols and yoga people written on the Band-Aid? That's it. That's all you need. You just need to stop the bleeding with the Band-Aid. Don't worry about healing yourself. It'll happen on your own. Don't worry about helping other people heal. Just put a Band-Aid on, look the other way, and have a nice day. You're good. That's all you need to do. We don't exist. We're just a cluster of tetrahedron. So that's what that system wants to do. But they'll never go into the perspectives that remove the entire system. They'll cover it up. So this is just another mechanism that's used to back up the whole believing that the system is changing sort of thing. It's kind of like the Civil Rights Act. It wasn't doing anything for racism or challenging the system. It was a doggy treat. These movies, like the Black Panther, is a doggy treat. So they make this movie and you won't even look at what the Black Panthers were really about. You'll just pride yourself in that things are changing in Hollywood. It's wonderful. They actually have a real black superhero out there now. Blank Man was a real black superhero. Blank Man and Pootie Tang. Those are the sort of real black superheroes. No, but seriously, what this does is it shuts people up. They're gonna be like, oh man, this is the best thing ever. And they're gonna talk about it. And they're gonna make him, oh yeah, he's the richest of the superheroes. As if money matters when you're a fucking superhero. Money only matters to Batman because he really doesn't have any like any powers. He just buys cool gadgets and shit. But he's the weakest one. He's the weakest one out of all of them. All the superheroes. What do you think they're doing when they say that the Black Panther is the richest superhero of the Marvel and DC characters? Subconsciously, they're telling you the same thing. Oh, he's just what he is because he's got the money. Ultimately. And who prints that money? So basically, he's not a superhero. So, fuck you again. Slap in your face again. It really doesn't matter if you're still believing in this system the way they're selling it to you. We marched from the cotton fields into the fields of medicine, politics, law, education, entertainment, even the White House. I use this image because this was very kind of ironic and pretty much tells the same story that I was saying earlier. The same black economic story, the same Oprah story, same everything. It's the same mechanism. And it's actually in words. We marched from the cotton fields. We went from slaves of the cotton fields to slaves of the medical industry, slaves of politics, slaves of Western law, slaves of Western education, slaves of Western entertainment, and slaves of the Western White House. Hashtag Black Girl Magic. Actually worded. And when you just read it and you look at the images, then you're like, wow, they really made it. If you believe in that system. And this is not to come down on people who go through that system. I understand people have responsibilities and everybody's doing their own thing. What I'm saying is that on a collective perspective, individually, people are going to do whatever it is they got to do. These are two different worlds, really. But collectively, the mind control program of this is very deep. And it just confirms your pride in your own enslavement. We marched from the cotton fields to the fields. The same kind of field. It's the same. It's a cotton field of medicine. It's the cotton field of politics. It's the cotton field of law. Cotton field of education. The cotton field of entertainment. And the cotton field that is the White House. It's the same thing. But you don't read it that way because the images show hashtag Black Girl Magic. Killing children in war is legal. growing a plant to cure cancer is illegal. I think it's time humanity started looking at what is right as opposed to what is legal. These two images are pretty much polar opposites. And I didn't even recognize the hand signal they're holding up right there. So whoever made this image could definitely be part of that shit. I don't know. I just saw it on Instagram and got it because it was perfect for this video. I was just waiting for all these images to come up for me to make this video. And the Jim Carrey video was a segue. It was a perfect segue because he was the personification of everything in this video. It's just like all of this is a controlled opposition, and that individual is basically giving you in one person what a controlled opposition looks like. And when you really look at it from perspectives like this, people are dying at the hand of Western civilization trying to protect itself, telling you that it's the freest nation in the world. And the way we become more free is by bombing more people, is by poisoning more people and stealing more land. And you're free, so you're not gonna give your freedom up. Just like these celebrities, they're not gonna give up their celebrityism to ask and answer questions of the freedoms of people across the world. No way. I'll hashtag freedom, but I won't actually go into the depths of questioning and challenging my own freedom in my own nation. No way. Why? Because we're the freest nation. But I'll send a hashtag out. I'll make a Facebook quote and post. That's what social media does. That's the controlled opposition of social media. And I'll end it on this because that's another one of the main ones that I didn't reference in here. But I don't need to have an image to reference what the controlled opposition of social media, because the controlled opposition of social media is no different than the controlled opposition of the mainstream media, television shows, Alex Jones's InfoWars and TYT, David Icke. It's just the mechanism of that. And you understand, it's censored, it's filtered. That's the confirmation that it's a controlled opposition. But since you are entertained by it, you laugh with it, you connect with your friends and family with it, you don't really go into the depths of what it really is doing. No different than Trevor Noah making you laugh about Donald Trump. You're not going to go into the depths of colonialism and Western civilization and all that other stuff because you're laughing. It's cool. I mean, if he thinks it's cool, if they think it's cool, then it's cool, right? I mean, we're cool. We're still free. Wrong answer. The system was never broken. It was built this way. It was designed. All the poverty that you see, all the drugs pumped into the inner cities, all the guns pumped into the inner cities, the gentrification on purpose, Democrats and Republicans, Hegelian dialectic, Bohemian Grove, the Bilderberg Group, 9/11, George Bush, war on terrorism, ISIS being created by the United States, Barack Obama given the Nobel Peace Prize, droning people, making you take pride in the fact that we have our first black president. Weather manipulation, the heliocentric model. It was built this way. It's not broken. If you carry on the perspective of this is broken, then you carry on the perspective of then this can be fixed and it needs to be fixed. But if you come from the perspective that it was built this way, then you will come from the perspective of we need to fucking uproot this entire shit. We need to connect with the information and the energy that predates all of these control systems and empower ourselves and stop funneling our energy, our information, our intellect, our spirits, our higher minds, and our bodies' energies into this program that was built to enslave people. It's not broken. All of these systems that I just went through, these are all designed to show you that this is broken and it can be fixed. They want to fix it. No, this was built this way. And these individuals in your face are trying to tell you that, you know, we're the best of the best. So we just need to fix it. And if you think of anything else differently than that, then something's wrong with you. Well, good luck with that. Because there's a lot of people who are seeing through this bullshit. And we know it was built this way. And we're not trying to fix this broken system. So, thank you for joining me. And thanks for sticking to the end if you listen to this whole video. And like I said earlier, if everything lines up correctly, should be going live with ODD sometime tomorrow in the late morning time frame, Pacific time. And if you haven't subscribed to his channel, please do. He puts out really good information, good videos. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.